guerrilla movement inspired by the Cuban Revolution. They carried out political actions, expropriations, and sought to challenge the elite, but their actions drew fierce repression from the state. Mujica was shot 6 times, captured and imprisoned. From 1972 to 1985 during Uruguay's military dictatorship, Mujica spent 13 years in prison, including over 2 years in solitary confinement. He was kept in harsh, inhumane conditions, sometimes in underground cells, sometimes without light or contact. That experience changed him. It stripped away everything except the core of who he was. He later said, "I spent many years in a hole, and I learned to speak to ants." When democracy was restored in the mid-1980s, Mujica left behind armed struggle and turned to politics. He helped found the Broad Front, a progressive coalition, and began working within the system he once fought against. He became a member of parliament, then Minister of Agriculture, where he advocated for rural farmers and sustainable development. In 2010, at the age of 75, José Mujica was elected president of Uruguay, and with that, he became perhaps the world's most unusual head of state. During his presidency, Mujica legalized same-sex marriage, abortion, and even marijuana, making Uruguay one of the most socially progressive countries in Latin America. But what truly caught the world's attention was how he lived. Mujica refused to live in the presidential palace. He stayed in his small rundown farmhouse on the outskirts of Montevideo with his wife, Lucia Topolansky, and their 3-legged dog. He donated nearly 90% of his salary to charities and lived on about $1,000 a month. He drove a 1987 Volkswagen Beetle, dressed in simple clothes, and worked in the garden during his free time. He believed real wealth was freedom, not the freedom to consume endlessly, but the freedom to live simply and consciously. In his words, poor is not the one who has little, but the one who needs infinitely more. Mujica didn't seek the spotlight, yet he became one of the world's most respected leaders, admired not for power, but for authenticity. He spoke out against materialism and consumer culture. In a famous speech at the United Nations, he asked, "Are we governing globalization, or is globalization governing us?" After stepping down in 2015, Mujica returned to his farm and served as a senator until 2020 when he retired from politics, citing health reasons. Even in retirement, he remained a voice of wisdom, urging younger generations to fight for justice, environmental responsibility, and human dignity. José Mujica's story is not just about politics, it's about a way of living. One that rejects greed, embraces simplicity, and prioritizes compassion.